Some friends don't want you to fail, but they also don't want you to win. And these are the most dangerous kind. Today, let's talk about the kind of friends that don't look toxic, but slowly sabotage your growth.
It's a life full of hope. It's a life full of joy. No more fear in my corner. I'm already fulfilled.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of A Life Full of Joyce, where I share about love, joy, peace, and freedom until your cup runneth over. In life, there are the friends who clap for you, but there are also those who quietly hope that you will stop trying. But how can we clearly tell those two apart? If this is your type of conversation, do not forget to like and subscribe and also hit the notification bell so you won't have to stumble upon me next time. You'll just receive a notification. Before going any further, Merry Christmas to everybody and happy holidays. My environment is a bit different right now, but that won't stop us from filming these videos. And today, we are going to talk about friends. Not the obviously toxic type of friend, but rather the friend that you would even feel inclined to defend even though they affect you negatively. We'll get to see 5 different types of friends, and stick around for number 5 because I'll share some juicy stories with this one. Without further ado, let us dive right into the topic, starting with friend number 1, a friend who is insecure. Now, here we're not talking about the type of friend who doubts themselves from time to time and needs some reassurance. We're talking about a type of friend who never feels enough, regardless of everything that they have, and therefore they will try to sabotage you for 2 main reasons. Reason number 1, because they envy you. They envy your money, they envy your looks, they envy your success, your opportunities. They envy everything about you and see everything that goes well for you as a reminder of their own shortcomings. The second reason is because they see you as a faire valoir. So I found some words that are supposed to mean faire valoir in English, but I'm just going to explain to you what it refers to in French. When we talk about a faire valoir, you will mainly hear it when you're talking about a bouquet of flowers. In a flower bouquet, you will have a central piece, and then you will have other flowers that are there only to make that central piece shine. That's how a friend who is insecure might tend to perceive you. Now, this is problematic because it means that they only see their value when it is put in comparison to somebody else. And therefore, you doing well is putting them in a difficult position or a disadvantageous position. At least this is how they interpret it. At this point in my life, I have great friendships. But once upon a time, as I mentioned before, when I was in high school, it wasn't the case at all. I remember that in high school, we had to wear a uniform. Now, this is important because sometimes we would have special days where we were allowed to come without our uniform. And I did happen to be somewhat stylish. Now, all throughout high school, I was always on the chubby side. And I do believe that some of my friends actually enjoyed that because it made them feel like they were better than me. That established a clear hierarchy in their mind and helped them to see me as a faire valoir. However, the fact that I was very stylish did cause a problem when came the days where we were allowed to dress however we wanted. Because most of those times I would dress very well, I would get a lot of compliments, etc. I remember one of my friends who insisted on coming to shop with me for one of those casual clothes days. While we were shopping, she kept being very demeaning about my outfit, tried to even make me leave some things behind. And not only do I remember clearly about this, but my mother was even there on that day and was very shocked because of how she was acting. She was someone who was very close to me, who was close enough to know my family. This could have been the worst of it, but the interesting thing is that when I did show up with my actual outfit the next day and I did receive compliments from everyone, she also chimed in with everyone saying,
Oh wow, this is so nice and this is so pretty.
as you would have guessed, I was literally looking at her dumbfounded. And I'm not I'm not the type of person to throw a rock and hide my hand. So if you do something, I'm going to call you out on it. I remember clearly asking her, "Weren't you telling me that this was ugly yesterday?" And she just swept it away, saying, "Oh, no, no, it's because I hadn't seen your outfit well." If you can identify people in your life that also have a similar behavior towards you need to start questioning it. These friends might not actually be your friends. They might be people who are around you because they see a benefit in you standing next to them, or people who are actually envious of you and don't want you to do any better than they are doing. It's also possible that you're listening to this and that you're actually identifying with the type of friend that I'm describing. If you're that friend, you need to shift your mindset. Envy is something that can happen to just about anyone. And although envy can be quite cute when it's born, it becomes quite ugly as it grows older. If you think about it, at its core, envy is admiration laced with laziness. Because as you see someone doing well, you do not acknowledge the effort and the work that they are putting in order for them to do well, and you start to become resentful. You start to feel as though things are unfair, and you become envious, thinking that they're just easily getting something that you are not able to achieve. But if you take it back to what it really is, which is first admiration, well, instead of seeing the other person as a threat, you can see them as motivation. You can see them as inspiration. I personally had a friend who would wake up at 5 in the morning in order to do an entire routine, which led them to also look good. And at first, I felt a little bit envious. It wasn't a toxic envy. It was just like, man, she's doing so well. And so what did I end up doing? Well, I started doing my own routine. I'm not waking up at 5 a.m. But I started doing simple things, very small things every morning, which gives me a sense of ritual, which makes me feel better about myself, makes me feel prettier every day. And I was able to do all of these things because actually I was living together with that friend. So I got to see her every day. And this became a source of inspiration to me. So if you identify with that friend who is insecure, who is envious of the people around you, then see envy for what it is, admiration, and get the work done. Friend number two, a friend who gossips, especially about people they know personally. One of my favorite quotes is one that has been attributed to Eleanor Roosevelt, which says, "Great minds discuss ideas, average minds discuss events, small minds discuss people." But why do people gossip? There are reasons why people enjoy gossiping. I'll give you two. The first reason is that it makes them feel superior. A wise person once said that although we are all sinners, as soon as we see the flaws or the mistakes of somebody else, humans are quick to take it and use it as a weapon. Why? Because by focusing on other people's flaws, then we can dim our own. The other reason that you can think of is that some people might actually see gossiping as bonding with others. As the famous quote says, "The enemy of my enemy is my friend." And some people don't only believe in that, they live by it. It can happen that you discuss with someone else about something that happened to a common acquaintance, but even when doing so, you need to think clearly about the implications of sharing about that story and why you want to talk about it. Moreover, what you say and how you speak about others, especially people you're close to, will definitely have me wondering about what you say about me when I'm not there and how you handle my information. If you're unfortunately identify with the kind of person who gossips a lot, then yet again, I highly encourage you to change your way of doing things. First, whenever something comes up, try to be someone who chooses silence. Be someone who observes, who learns, who reflects on yourself, even while seeing the flaws of someone else. As the Bible says, why do you focus on the straw in your brother's eye when there's a plank in your own? I genuinely believe that when you see something in someone else, the first thing that you need to do is reflect on yourself. For example, in the same way that someone who feels insecure about their nose will notice the nose of everyone else, well, if you're quick to notice about someone's flaw, you need to reflect on yourself and see if this is not something that you also struggle with, and try to see if there isn't something that you can also learn from what they're going through. Ask yourself, what would I have done? Would I have known to act differently? What could I do to avoid being in this predicament? On the other hand, If you're someone who gossips with the hope of connecting with others, then I would encourage you to connect using your own vulnerability by exposing yourself instead of exposing others. Even if you're sharing something regarding someone else, focus on your own feelings, on what you feel, what you think, etc. Matter of fact, you might not even need to mention who the person is because a lot of times mentioning the affairs of somebody else is not beneficial to anybody. If you really want to connect with others, then learn to value every single person that you meet and to value your intimacy with every person that you meet. Now let's move on to friend number three, a friend who loves to humble you, negatively criticize you, or put you down, especially in public. Like, do you hate me? This can be connected to what we were saying in the beginning when talking about that insecure friend who only sees themselves in comparison to others. When I was growing up, my mother always made it a point to not compare myself to others. Even when it came to my siblings, she would always make it a point that we should not compare ourselves to one another. And even when going to school, if I were to bring a bad grade, she didn't care if the entire class got a bad grade. She wanted to know why I got a bad grade. I'm really thankful for her nurturing me in that way because this taught me that I am always my biggest competition. And the most important question that I should ask myself when it comes to comparison is, are you doing better than you did yesterday? Self esteem, which stems from comparison to others rather than the self, is no true self esteem. People who are in constant competition with others will always feel the need of bringing others down because they don't know how to nurture their own light. In their eyes, their light can only be seen in the dark, and therefore, they will always put a lot of effort in dimming the light of other people.
When did you realize that your friends were not your friends? Somebody said she kept mentioning that I had a bald spot to men who thought I was cute.
Yeah, that's the kind of friend that we're talking about. We're not trying to do that. If you are that kind of friend, I will tell you to set your own goals and actually track your own progress. Learn to see yourself as your own competition. Learn to see yourself as the standard of what it means to do better. If you compare yourself to someone who is already way ahead of you in the game, then of course you're going to feel threatened. To be honest, this is a natural reaction from human beings to feel threatened in the presence of someone who seems to be doing so well.
If you're a beautiful woman, but you're also someone who's smart, confident, kind, and successful, then you have a combination that is one of the most threatening combinations a woman can have because it activates a status monitoring system in other people's brains that no one ever warns you about. In an evolutionary perspective, status is survival currency. And even though you're generous, your very existence highlights their lack. You make them feel poor just by standing next to them. And that is not just a feeling, it actually has a physical cost. Research shows that when a person is around a higher status competitor, their body enters a state of high alert. Their cortisol spikes. Their brain burns extra glucose, constantly calculating, where do I stand? Am I safe? Do I measure up? This means that being in your presence is metabolically expensive. You literally tax their nervous system. You make their heart beat faster and their energy drain quicker just by being there.
But if you are so overly conscious about what is happening in somebody else's life, then obviously you're not focusing on yourself enough. You only have one set of eyes. If you're so focused on somebody else, then you're not looking at yourself. And if you're not looking at yourself, then that means you cannot do better for yourself. Friend number four, a friend who wants you to go through the same hardship as them. When it comes to those type of friends, there is also a sense of insecurity, but there is also a lack of self-acceptance, whether it is about their own current condition or their past. I remember this one friend I had in high school, and we grew up with a similar mindset. Eventually, her life took a different turn from mine, which is fine. We were still friends after that. I didn't judge her or anything. However, it does seem like she never really accepted the fact that I didn't go down the same route as she did. When it came to a lot of things that we both valued initially, she was always making comments, always trying to make me stray from our initial point of view, which again, it is okay if her point of view changed. My point of view had not changed. And I wanted to continue living my life the way that I said I would. I remember one of the last times we hung out. I'm going to tell the story using something very generic. I'm going to say alcohol. That friend had called me up telling me that we hadn't seen each other in some time, that they wanted to hang out together and they wanted to drink together. I didn't really feel good about that. I was like, I don't really think I want to do that. But okay, we can meet because we haven't seen each other in a long time. And so she came to my place. We hung out in her car. And eventually we did end up consuming alcohol. Once I was a little in the mood, she turns to me and she says, "You see, you're not so much better in the end." My entire body froze in that moment, and it really felt as though she had laid a trap for me, and I fell right into it. And that might have been the last time ever that we hung out. You need to be very careful about the people that you keep around you because some people, like, I don't know if you feel how scary that would have been to know that you didn't really want to hang out with me. You just wanted a proof that I'm not so much better than you. Like, that's really scary. That's extremely scary. No matter how much I think about it, there's just no, to me, there's no logic to this kind of mindset. I pray for my friends because I know that if my friends make it, if even one of my friends make it, my life is good. My life is great. My life is set. So it's very hard for me to understand that someone would be so happy about your demise and call themselves your friend. If you are that kind of person, I need a moment to think about what kind of advice I can give you. If you ever feel guilty or judged because of the values and standards of the people around you, then you need some introspection. Are you satisfied with your life? And if you are not, what can you do to change it? If it is something that happened in your past, then you can try sharing it with someone because by sharing it with someone, you also get the opportunity to be embraced, to be accepted. And that can help you to learn how to accept yourself. If you're not comfortable doing this with the people around you, you may get a therapist and do the work. But the important thing is that you need to accept yourself because even logically, it doesn't make sense for you to want someone to go through something that makes you feel bad to this day. On the other hand, if you feel judged and guilty when it comes to the standards and values of the people around you, but you're actually satisfied with your lifestyle, maybe you need to find more like minded people. If you're going to stand in your truth, then you need to be confident about that. You don't have time to be around people who are going to make you feel bad about something you're 100% confident about. And if you're not 100% confident, again, reassess. Moreover, I would tell you to work on your own advancement and to uplift your friends. Even though it feels counterintuitive, make sure that when someone does well, you let them know. Make sure that when there is an opportunity that could be good for someone else, you let them know about it. Encourage, uplift, support, congratulate. And in return, not only are you sowing something good in your own life, but others will also congratulate you. Others will also uplift, support, encourage you. You have everything to gain in this case. Friend number 5, friend with vices. Friends who have vices. Now, listen, Friends who have vices, don't even keep them around though. Friends who have vices will always put their vices above you. One of the archetypes that you will hear about a lot nowadays is the pick me's, the male centered woman. These type of women will abandon you in the middle of a party because of men. Actually, let me input a little story that I saw about a blind girl that looks stunning, by the way.
I am totally blind. I do not have any eyesight at all. And sometimes you want to depend on your friends. And you depend on people that you trust. And some of these don't mean you well. There are people out there. There are people out there, y'all, that just mean bad. And you have to choose your friends wisely, okay? I thought I had a friend, but this gets mad at me and she leaves me on the dance floor at a nightclub by myself, okay? Do y'all know what that feels like? I was so afraid. And this guy started dancing with me, some notable football player. I don't know his name. I honestly don't care because I can't see him anyway. So she slowly like comes and like moves me out of the way and like starts dancing with him instead. I don't mind. It's no big deal. I don't go to clubs for hookups. I go to just have fun. So it was no big deal. Eventually, I guess he leaves. I don't know what happened because I kind of started dancing with another guy. There was plenty to choose from. And we were just dancing for a while. It was quiet. So I like kind of was feeling around, trying not to look like I can't see, but kind of like I know what her dress feels like. So kind of like feeling people around me like without them noticing. And she wasn't there. So I take my phone out of my bag and I turn up the volume so it can read to me. And I hear my phone speaking to me and it puts out a text message, or it's reading a text message, and it says, "I'm sorry, get home safe, I left." And then she texts me, "How was your night? Sorry I had to leave." That conversation did not go well, obviously. I responded with, "What do you mean, how was my night? You left me on the dance floor. Like, who does that? Why would you do that?" Y'all know what she told me. "Well, you were in your own world having your own fun and I was miserable, so I just left you. I just left."
Do you see? Do you see how dangerous it is to have friends with vices? I can only remember two extreme cases that I have encountered. I won't be speaking too much for this one. I will simply give you those two cautionary tales. One was a friend who loved money, and two was a friend who loved men. For the friend who loved money, let's call her Sarah. Sarah was a friend who basically, I guess she was doing fraudulent activities. I didn't really know what was going on. She asked me if she could receive orders at my house. I should have known. I should have known. In hindsight, I should have known. One day, she ordered an iPhone. The guy came, delivered the phone. My little brother went downstairs to take it and then gave me the box. Eventually, she came to my house to take her package. And when she opened it, it turned out that the box was empty. She was very calm about it, but she kept asking me if my younger brother could have perhaps taken the phone. And the thing is, the way that my family is raised, there are a lot of things that each person might need to overcome on the daily. But one thing is for sure, we do not steal. There are just things that according to your family values, you don't do. So obviously, I told her that my brother did not take it. We called my brother, we asked, he did not take it. I never saw the phone ever. I never saw him get money that was unexplained. And trust me, when my brother has money, you will know. She was skeptical, but she let it go. Eventually, she told me about a business her brother had and how he needed help to move his money in a certain way. Being the idiot that I was, I accepted. She said she needed to take my bank account and take my bank card and so on and so forth. I, I, trusting my friend, accepted because at the end of the day, I didn't really have money in that bank account. So I was like, sure, here. And I want you to understand that this friend and I were very, very close. I remember her sharing with me some of the things that she had been through, and I remember crying with this girl. Like, I'm still shocked to this day because eventually what she did is that she worked with another dude in order to commit fraud on my account and left me with $2,000 of debt. I tried to reason with her, and that's when she told me, well, your brother stole the phone. I was like, oh my God. I remember even writing a song at some point and mentioning about this incident. And one of the things that I said was, I tried and this girl screwed me over for 2 grand. Is that really enough to lose a friend? To me, it still doesn't make sense. It's not even about the money, it's literally about the way that you're thinking. Another crazy story that happened to me was with some other friend of mine called Tina. Let's call her Tina. Tina came from abroad. Tina came from abroad and stayed at my house for a week. Now, the thing is, in my house, we have a lot of people that come in and out. My family is very open about inviting people over, etc. The problem arises when one day after coming back from church, there's Tina, there's me, and there's one of my brother's friends. I go to the restroom, I come out of the restroom, and I know I wasn't that long. Explain to me why. When my brother comes into the house and speaks to his friend, it turns out that Tina, who was in her 20s, took advantage of the child that was 16 years old. The story goes even further than that, but that's just how much I'm going to share on here. But it was crazier than that. And the worst part of it all is that she was feeling very self righteous about what she had done. She was acting like she didn't understand why I was upset, etc., etc. So, what I'm trying to tell y'all is, friends with vices, you don't do that. She was staying at my mother's house. She has no decorum, she has no sense. For the sake of time, I'm going to wrap this up with a voiceover. So, as mentioned, this friend came from abroad, was staying at my place. An important detail is that she was not black, and obviously, she didn't see what was wrong with her actions because of issues even deeper than just her vices. As mentioned, she was someone who had no sense of respect for another person's family because all of this happened in my mother's house. But it also pertains to the entire issue of non black people hypersexualizing black youth. In the end, the young boy was quite distressed about what happened, ended up running away from home a couple days later, and the entire affair almost got caught by the police. Which, in hindsight, I regret not letting happen, but I was a lot younger at that time, and my biggest worry was simply for my mom to not find out what had happened in the house, although she knows by now. Do understand that common sense is not that common. Common sense is not that common. The way that you were raised is not how everybody else was raised.
You know, when you talk to someone and you realize that life hasn't made them mature in the exact same ways, that's exactly why if you look at me now and I've stopped talking to you, you haven't reached a level of maturity that I can stick around with. That's whack, bro. I can't subscribe to that level of thinking. And that's why I just had to cut her off, bro.
You need to vet your friends because otherwise you're going to be in a situation where you're going to be friends with someone, you're being very genuine with that person, but that person was not raised the same way that you were. Even when I think about that first friend that I mentioned, yes, she was into some fraudulent activities, but afterwards, from what she's telling me, her brother is also into some fraudulent activities. So that's a family thing that's going on. Just like your core values are important when it comes to choosing a partner, do understand they are very important when it comes to choosing your friends as well. Don't believe what the world tells you when they try to glamorize relationships, romantic relationships, and make it seem like your friendships are just some sidekicks that you have in life. No, having friends can save your life. Okay. Having friends will make you live longer. So you need to choose your friends wisely. You will always be the sum of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. So choose how you invest your time wisely. If you are that friend, I don't really have much to say for you. If you are satisfied with your vices, I would say keep the company of people who are like minded. If you want to come out of your vices, then uh, if you want to come out of your vices, then try to hang around people who can pull you out of those vices, but you also need to make a determination for yourself. And I highly invite you to be vulnerable with the people that you want to trust on your journey of becoming someone better, someone who comes out of whatever vice you have. Anyways, this is all for today's video. I do hope that you were able to listen to all of it and really reflect on your current friendships. And if there is anything else that you are doing in order to nurture good friendships, or if you have stories that you want to share with the rest of the class, don't hesitate to put it in the comments below. In 2026, we're letting go of all the friendships that are damaging to us, okay? Otherwise, Merry Christmas, everyone. And I hope you guys got a bunch of gifts. Now, this is not sponsored, but just in case you're someone who doesn't like receiving surprise gifts or pretending that you're happy after receiving something that you really didn't want, I highly recommend to use a digital wish list. I believe Amazon has one, or you can use something like Throne. I will put mine in the bio in case you are in a giving mood. But I also wanted to take the time to say thank you to everyone who has visited my Throne page or has even bought anything on the page, especially in this time of festivities. And also say thank you to all the people who do watch my videos. I love you all very much, and I'm very thankful to you. And I always appreciate your good company in every single video. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and I'll see you in the next one. Until then, whether you are already planning for 2026 or you're still reassessing 2025, remember, nevertheless, it is a life full of joy.
It's a life full of hope. It's a life
Okay,
full
I
of
need
joy.
to go because I have a
No more
Christmas
fear in
party
my
to attend.
corner.
We're gonna do this
I'm
thing
already
called
fulfilled.
is it the yellow elephant? The white elephant game? Anyways, Voldecado, Voldecado. I'm so excited.